Okay, you can't have a conversation about the integumentary system without talking about skin cancer. So we're going to talk about the two most common and then the deadly type of skin cancer. You all probably know someone in your families who have had skin cancer. Maybe they've had skin cancer removed. And there is a misconception that only fair-skinned people get skin cancer, and that is not true. Okay, you can have really dark skin and your genetics, you can actually get skin cancer. So we all should be aware of the signs, which is what I want to talk about. So the three main types are basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and melanoma. So your basal cells are the most common types. I do want you to know that, the most common type. It is spreading in the stratum, the basal stratum or basale, whichever you want to pronounce it. Usually it's localized, meaning it doesn't spread, and usually not metastatic. That is a word I'd like you to know as well. Metastatic means it usually has spread to other areas of your body. So cancer becomes really deadly when it becomes metastatic, spreads to other organs. So this type of cancer, one of the characteristics of it is usually it has a rolled border on it, kind of like an ulcer. So we would want to look for that. And again, those are the most common form things, and I want you to know the stratum that it's formed in, and it makes sense why it's called basal cell carcinoma. And so usually some pictures, sometimes they'll end up on a nose, may or may not be a mole. Sometimes things look like moles and they're not. So some here, I pulled my PowerPoint from the American Cancer Society is where these images have come from. All right. So our second most common type is the squamous cell carcinoma. And so it is found in your keratinocytes, and I'd like you to know that. So in the keratinocytes in the stratum spinosum. So the basal cell were in the basale or basal stratum, and this isn't the stratum spinosum. It is more aggressive, and so sometimes it will not stay localized. It will be metastatic, which means it will spread. So sometimes it will get onto a person's nose, which is what we're going on here. It's real bad about getting on ears. People who wear hats a lot of times leave their ears exposed. I know I have an uncle who got squamous cell carcinoma on his ears, and they had to chop off part of the pinna of his ear. So that's squamous cell. So it can be deadly if not taken care of. So that's the key with that. And so we get to melanoma. Melanoma, if it makes sense, is cancer of the melanocytes. So where are those? They're in that stratum basale or basal as well, but it's specifically those melanocytes, those cells that are making that melanin that are getting the cancer. And so that's why it starts to become really dark and crazy looking, because it's making melanin like crazy. It is the most aggressive type. Luckily, it is the least common, but it usually or can be fatal if not caught in time. And the reason this is kind of important to me is I have a first cousin. She and I were the same age, and we always would go camping together. We would go hang out and lay out in the sun, and we actually put baby oil on our bodies to get a better tan. And she died of melanoma when she was 27. Of course, I was 27 as well. So it kind of hit me hard that it could have been me, and it was really sad that was her, because she had 3 small children. So we do want to be watching for things going on our skin. So here's some pictures from the American Cancer Society. This one looks really aggressive here. So you can see they're just kind of odd looking. They're not uniform in shape at all. And a lot of times they're different colors. So here's just some factual information. It says 1 American dies from melanoma every hour. So we don't think about that, but it is the most common form of cancer for adults 25 to 29. This is not information you have to know. In fact, I pulled this a couple years ago, so some of this might be statistically not as accurate as before. And back when I pulled this information, it was the second most common type of cancer in young adults 15 to 29 because they're out in the sun all the time. I do believe that bone cancer is the most aggressive type or most deadly type for that age group. So part of your essay, just because I think knowing this is important enough, I've made this your essay. So you have to know the ABCs, DEs of finding what melanoma looks like. And so you have to write what A stands for and also tell me the description. So not just A is asymmetry, but what does that mean? So if something's asymmetrical, which is what A stands for, one half of the skin or the mole or whatever you're looking at doesn't look like the other half. It's not uniform. You couldn't divide it in half. So like this side and that side do not look the same there. So you would first look for asymmetry. The next would be border, B. So you're going to notice that the border, which is what's going around the patch of skin that looks different, is usually irregular, scalloped, or poorly defined. So you would look for the border. And then the color, for C is for color, it's going to vary in different amounts of melanin. So you can see different shades of tan, brown, black, and sometimes the white, red, and blue. So it's not going to be usually uniform color when. That doesn't necessarily mean, because this one looks pretty uniform, but this one is probably melanoma. So these are our ABC. So let's go D. D is going to be diameter. So the diameter is growing. So what we're going to see that it's going to get 6 millimeters or larger. So what 6 millimeters is about the size of a pencil eraser, and we're going to see that it can start to grow larger than that. It says sometimes it can be smaller, so none of these are just taken, oh well it's not that, so it's not going to be. You always want to ask your doctor, because the big one is evolving. So E is for evolving, and so this is when it started out maybe small and then we start to see it's changing its shape. It could be within a few months or so. So it is evolving over time. It's looking different. So for your essay, you will have to tell me what A, B, C, D, and E stand for and give me a description of it. All right, that's about all we're going to say for the skin cancer.